I'm Laura.
Hi, I'm Sam.
Hi, I'm Ben.
Hi, my name is Nathan.
I'm an environmental researcher, and I was seeing a lot of conflicting messaging about plastic. Some of it was just wrong. I have a bunch of filmmaker friends, so we decided to all get together and make a film about plastic.
Laura suggested watching this documentary by Joe Ruxton called Plastic Oceans.
And it was enlightening.
Do you want to know what you actually said?
Yeah, pass me notebook. So I said, like it's a huge problem I can't fix. It's like it can't be fixed.
It was very eye-opening, not in a good way, but in a shit way as well. So,
At this point, I had absolutely no idea that there was any issue at all with plastic.
Can I get a straw? Oh, thanks. Have you got any biodegradable ones?
Sorry?
Have you got any biodegradable ones? No? Okay. No worries. Thanks very much. You know what, actually, I don't need the straw. I'll put it back in. Thank you so much. Not a great start.
right, so our first outing as a crew to follow up on what we saw in this Plastic Oceans was to actually go and see Joe.
Every film I worked on, we were showing the oceans as if they were pristine and full of life. And of course, that wasn't the real case. And I felt that we had a duty to tell people that there are problems and we cannot go behaving the way we are now with our trash and everything else. It's this ridiculous notion that we are making something disposable out of something that's indestructible. We've just got to stop this addiction to single-use plastic. And we are treating it as something that's disposable. And yet, plastic defies nature. And it's mixed in with the plankton, the heart of the food chain, the base of the food chain. You can't just sweep it all up and take it away when it's all mixed with these little animals and plants. It's about rethinking.
Yeah.
It's about many things, but just getting it into your head that plastic is not a disposable material.
And also something about Joe's film and some of the other documentaries that had been put out is that it was really scary stuff.
The search was on to really see who was doing their part to combat this plastic issue.
This whole idea to make a film came from us having a chat in the pub. So we decided our first stop should be to visit one of the UK's biggest pub chains and see what they were doing about plastic.
So Wetherspoon, like most pub operators, use a lot of straws.
Yeah.
We also have it's effectively the way we run our business, so if you order a soft drink or you order a gin and tonic, the bar staff will put the straw in.
Yeah.
So we get through an amazing 70 million plastic straws a year, 900 pubs across the UK,
Yeah.
70 million plastic straws.
Yeah.
Plastic does not recycle very well. As you know, it takes hundreds of years to recycle down. So what we decided was that immediately from now, you'll only get a plastic straw if you ask for one, as opposed to it being in the drink, so that will cut it right down. And also from January, plastic straws will be gone and we'll be using biodegradable straws. So effectively from January onwards, 70 million straws a year for the foreseeable future will go and they'll be biodegradable. 70 million of anything is a large number. 70 million straws which aren't going to be recycled. And you know, Wetherspoon isn't a company which is here today, gone tomorrow. So if you say in 15 years' time, that's 1 billion straws.
Yeah.
So it's not. I think the interesting thing with this is that a lot of companies that put bans like this or other bans into place tend to take a lot of credit. We made it quite clear that this idea came from our staff and customers. It didn't come from management, it came from staff and customers. They just said, we think you should be doing this. And with Wetherspoon, we tend to react very quickly.
What are we doing now?
Go to Waterloo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gonna
Yeah.
play with some glitter.
Yeah. Split a bit.
Sophie and Noemi started a company making biodegradable glitter about a year ago after learning the effect that the glitter they had worn all summer had on the places that they wore it in and the waterways that they washed it off into.
Can I check out the glitter?
The glitter ghetto.
Yeah. So it's softer and it's just natural, right?
Well, it's made from cellulose from eucalyptus plants, and they're grown in a sustainable way, and therefore it's plants basically.
Yeah.
It's like glitter should always check if it's got polyester written on it or something like that on the back of it, or polyethylene.
Yeah.
It means it's got plastic in it. But maybe someone who doesn't know those terms wouldn't realise, and that's what just one of our like pet peeves.
Pet peeves.
Yeah.
I think our obsession was with making people really aware that it existed in the first place, and we were like questioning people about, is it actually plastic, all these eco-friendly companies. So then we started telling people, don't assume that if someone says eco-friendly that it is actually eco-friendly biodegradable. So we started posting stuff saying, if someone says it's eco-friendly, question it, ask them, how is it biodegradable, what is it made of, just to kind of get people to kind of question stuff rather than just
about it.
Think about it. Yes.
Yeah.
Glitter, though, is a luxury. It's not a necessity. And if there wasn't biodegradable glitter, we could, very sadly, just have no glitter at all. The guys didn't know, but any clothes with the labels nylon or polyester are made of plastic.
Our next shoot actually was pretty local. It was down in Brighton with a company called Ruby Moon, and they were doing some incredible things.
We are going down to Brighton to visit a lady who makes swimwear out of recycled fishing nets. And chat to her, and I'm going to be trying some on, which is a bit scary, but I'm excited. And it's November, so it's going to be pretty cold, but she says, you know, weather looks good, beach looks good, so I am prepared for this.
Mate, it's when we turn up and they do like menswear as well.
The biggest environmental impact you can make is to increase the length of wear of your clothing. So that's how we design our clothes like that, so that we can make them more sustainable, they last longer. So it's about 6 times as strong as an ordinary nylon lycra. And also the fabric, as you know, is made from ghost fishing nets. So there's a European-wide project which reclaims ghost fishing nets from the sea in both the Mediterranean and the North Sea. And those nets are reprocessed back into nylon lycra, which we then print and dye in Europe and reuse as swimsuit fabric. So the fishing nets are brought out of the North Sea and the Mediterranean by divers groups, NGOs and some fishermen's groups. So virgin petrochemicals are being used for new nylon. So we are drilling for new petrol or petrochemicals that end up being nylon when we've already got a huge amount of nylon in the sea just waiting to be picked. By manufacturing from using the nylon from nylon fishing nets, we can manufacture our swimwear using 43% less carbon emissions per swimsuit. So that's quite considerable because you're not drilling out virgin oil. The way we manufacture clothes is not sustainable. And I think young people, particularly the millennials, are beginning to understand that for every purchase they make is going to affect their future and their children's future and what resources we're going to have left on the planet.
Okay, so we are back in London and we are going to meet Edward Cozier now. He's a bit of an expert in recycling technologies that he's developed and that he's aware of, and sort of what other people are doing, and seeing how it might be possible to implement some of that in the UK.
Globally, in the world, we make approximately 300 million tonnes a year of plastics. So that creates this big stream of material which has to be constantly recycled. In reality, the cost of recycling is fixed by the collection cost, the raw material cost, and the process cost. Whereas the price of making virgin plastics is the price of oil plus a conversion cost. So we're now in an era of low oil price, and we're actually going to be in low oil price for many more years. So we have to solve the problem, because when we switch to electric cars, 40% of all the oil that we're using for transport will no longer be needed.
Thanks for the pickup, though. It's not exactly ideal.
It takes about a quarter of its size in oil to make the plastic for a water bottle. Making a ton of PET equates to about 3 tons of CO2. A company making bottled water from plant-based plastic contacted us when they heard about what we were doing, so we went to visit them.
And do people really still want to drink out of a bottle that a load of it is made from oil? So the plant we use currently is corn, the regular field-grown corn.
Okay.
But you can use any sugar-based crop to produce this bottle.
Right. So how does it work?
Okay, so what happens is we harvest the corn. The corn is then processed, and then from there, from that process, we extract the starch. Okay, from the starch, then it goes through another chemical process, and then eventually we get a granule. Put the granules inside the mould, produce a bottle.
As it turns out, bioplastics aren't the answer. Their intentions are great, but the infrastructure just isn't there yet.
A lot of people think bioplastics should degrade. We don't have degrading facilities for plastics. These things take 6 months to compost. Bioplastics are still young in their development as a technology, so they're relatively expensive. They're 3 to 5 times the cost of recycled plastics. So while they're going to be important, they're not the solution.
I thought that it was a great option. I was like, well, they're made out of plants. Like, surely this is it. Like, we found the solution.
I'm not shit on bioplastics or anything. They are fantastic as a product. They have an end life. The only problem that we have right now is that there's no infrastructure to work with these things.
Compostable plastics look so much like normal plastics, and there's no method to separate them. And you can't just bury them in the ground. They have to be composted industrially. So they have to go to an industrial composter to have light and to have oxygen and to have heat. So you bury it in the ground, it's not going to compost.
And even worse, producing plastics made from plants emits a greenhouse gas called nitrous oxide, which can be 300 times more potent in the atmosphere than carbon. Eco4Life are doing their best to think of a solution that's better than single-use PET bottles, but research shows that this might not be the best answer.
It was almost like we're back to square one. I didn't really understand where we could go from here.
So we thought, how far can we go without plastic? To do this, we're tackling a plastic-free week. The rules of this week are simple. Don't buy plastic, don't throw away plastic, but you can use plastic you own already.
Alright.
A week of buying and consuming no plastic at all. So I'm not going to buy any, I'm going to try and use as little as possible.
Alright, so today is shopping day.
The day before our plastic week starts, let's find a no-waste shop to buy our weekly goods in.
Preparation is key.
So we come to Krakow and find this place called Hetu Vegan Organic Eco Bulk. Apparently zero waste.
Slight update.
Slight update. I mean, we went in. We saw there was a lot of seeds and nuts. Peanut butter. I saw some crisps.
Dried fruit.
But you have to collect it and then take it to the till. But we didn't bring anything.
We had nothing to collect.
Thinking we could just collect it.
Could collect it with. I don't know really. Could put it in a hand. I have got lots of pockets.
Yeah.
And a bag. I've got a bag as well.
I think we should go back in.
Yeah.
Success.
To an extent.
We think we've done well.
We walked in with not a lot of optimism, and we walked out with slightly more.
A big bag of optimism.
A big bag of optimism, yeah.
Let it begin. We've just got back from the gym and it's time to have some food. Got these yesterday at the shop. We figured like cans would be fine, wouldn't they?
Cans are fine. Okay, so Sam's going for a taste test. Whether it's cooked or not, we have no idea.
Can you die from beans?
Thought I scored it with this Uncle Ben's rice. Right. Rice in half a box. I was like, yes. It's got a plastic window. Didn't see that when I bought it. Fuck.
I went out for dinner, had like a salad and everything came in like plates and no plastic there, and I just went to the shop to get some breakfast for the morning. Just got like some bananas and some apples without any plastic. Yeah, so it's going very, very well so far.
How's the meal?
I made a mistake.
What's that?
Cling film was in autopilot mode, and I suddenly realised what I'd done, and now it's too late. This is only day 2.
It's literally day 2. A big bag of optimism.
We said Wednesday. I've not even made it to Wednesday.
So we ordered protein from a website. Thing it's in like a foil paper bag, isn't it? It's like a foily paper, would you say?
Plastic.
Is it? I mean these bags, these ones.
What?
These protein bags.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know.
Oh no. I was going to talk about the packaging.
The packaging?
With
bags of
bags of air. They've packaged air. Will it even be recycled?
When do we break the news?
What's in the chat?
I'll drop a message.
A big bag of optimism. Day 3.
Oh my. So, I fucked up. Let's see.
So it's Thursday. Last night I was on a shoot and I hired from that company, but things came wrapped in plastic. So I don't know if that means I failed again, but literally that was work, and you know I can't film without that. Why? What's the point? Easy thing to do. Look at that.
Okay, so dinner. I've got beans on buns. About to eat some delicious stir fry. Cardboard container, and I'm eating with chopsticks as well. No plastic fork. I'm really struggling to eat this with chopsticks. I think if there wasn't a plastic-free week right now, I'd get a fork.
Right, when you're thinking about it, it's fine because you're like, right, I can't have that. It's either got plastic wrap or whatever. But you forget to like, oh, I went to the shop and I was just like, right, fancy yogurt, not thinking like everything just went tits up. I was just like, right, grab that. It's like, oh, yeah, I really enjoyed this. And I was just sitting there eating. I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
We would just like to say we really wanted to do well. We really did.
I mean,
we asked for glasses. They would not.
We just wanted a night out, fam.
They wouldn't give us glasses. They said no, only plastic cups. Dude, no plastic week. Oh, you're fucked. Yeah.
Fuck you, son. Plastic 3 weeks really started to do my night now. I just miss chicken, I miss meat, I miss bloody yogurt, and what's the point carrying on?
This week has been tough. Longest streak was a day. Definitely not easy. And I was just saying to Ben last night that I've eaten out like 4 times, or at least like nearly once a day. But yeah, like I feel like to make a completely plastic-free lifestyle, I need to change my lifestyle.
If anything, it tells me how reliant we actually are on all these materials that can't actually be recycled properly.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, not so optimistic about everyone going plastic-free. We're doing it because of Stocker, because we learned so much from doing it. But not very optimistic.
I think because like people who are around me know what I was doing with the plastic thing, so it was like, you know, I can't go to Pret today with you because there's nothing there that doesn't come in plastic. So like, sorry. And it was okay for like a week, but you couldn't really do that long term. It's just that there seems to be plastic that you just don't realise in everything. No matter if you are going to a farmer's market to buy your bananas, or you are going around a supermarket and you're avoiding things that are wrapped in plastic, like openly wrapped in plastic. Those things are packaged in plastic just to be able to come to this country. And yeah, everything that we want is delivered in plastic because it's an amazing material, but we have just made too fucking much of it.
You know, plastic is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's in the deepest parts of our oceans. They've just discovered recently. They're finding it as the ice is melting in the Arctic and places. They're finding it there. It's in our sea salt. It's in fish.
We should not use unnecessary single-use plastic items that we use once and throw away. Items like straws, shopping bags, they are often discarded because they have low value. And we shouldn't do that where we can eliminate it.
But when we looked back over our week, we saw even more clearly how plastic is just everywhere, even when we thought we were avoiding it. Stickers on loose veg, plastic lining in the tins, labels on the spring onions, plastic-coated cardboard boxes. We really weren't plastic-free.
So the key issue is no longer to focus on are we using plastics, but what are we doing with them at the end of the life? And so if we organise our systems better and we create collection and recycling, we'll solve this problem. And we don't have to deal with the issue of plastics ending up in oceans or other locations where we don't want it to go.
So we actually got to visit a recycling plant, which is something I never thought I'd say in my lifetime.
Oh boy, the recycling plant. That, I think, was my favourite shoot.
We went there because we really wanted to see firsthand like how plastic was being recycled.
How they capture plastic and what they do with it and where it ends up.
The amount of plastic that goes through these machines and like all the people working on it, and the amount of detail they go into, like all the PETs, the LDPEs and the HDPEs, the high density polyethylene. Yeah.
What has become known as the circular economy is the idea that we can create a system where materials are never really wasted or thrown away, but always get collected and remade into new things. Adam is director at Suez, the second largest recycling company in the UK.
Well, it's two things. One, we're doing a great deed for the environment because we're putting this stuff back to good use. We have to make a little bit of cash on the way, so there is a margin to be made because some of these materials are very valuable if you can put them back to good use. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing if you couldn't make money.
Okay, so over here we've got HDPE.
Yeah, your plastic milk bowl.
And PET. What's the difference in what are they and what's the difference in value?
So yeah, your HDPE is on average it'll be your plastic milk bowls.
Okay.
A ton of that's about 400 at the moment.
And this is 1 ton, one barrel?
No, that's a third of it.
It's about half of the barrel, 500.
So
okay.
So that's about 200, maybe just under 200 quid for that bale of HDPE.
Okay.
The PET.
Yeah.
Is half that value, isn't it?
PET 200.
200. So that's again half a ton there. So that's about £100.
Okay.
And your aluminium in the middle is a really good one. That's £1,100, £1,200, and the value of that, it's over half a ton, isn't it?
But you were saying that there's not that much aluminium in the...
It's about 2-3% or more.
Okay. And how much plastic?
Plastic in total it will be about
10%, okay.
There's no better material to recycle than aluminium. We hear lots in the press about materials going off to China and questions about where it ends up, materials ending up in the oceans. Aluminium is actually recycled on our doorstep. And as long as the consumer does their bit, aluminium is infinitely recyclable.
The big question for the UK government at the moment is how do we make our system more efficient, more economically productive, how do we use less resources, and how do we ensure the quality of that material is always there, because then there'll always be a market for it. But what we need to do is we need to drive recycled content up in the things that we are going to see in our system. So PET bottles, HDPE milk bottles. You could have a higher recycled content in those, specify that through government, and that would be the pull factor to make sure we do a really good job of getting that material, because the end market, it will be knocking on our door saying we need another 10,000 tonnes, we need another 1 million tonnes, because our production line now needs a guaranteed quality standard of more material.
And our forecasts show that just 2 years' time, thanks to investment in that infrastructure, we'll be recycling over 85% of all of the aluminium cans used in the UK. So that's just in 2 years.
If we just could make less variation in materials, then it makes it easier for a plant like this to go target, 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 bang, 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 pull off, pull off, pull off. It's when you've got multiple materials, different polymers, you've got composites. You know, you talked about coffee cups briefly. Coffee cups usually have a filmy inner layer because of the heat issue, whereas the filmy inner layer that stops the cardboard outer layer from being recycled. So simplifying, less polymers, clarity, it makes the communication for the general public easier. It means we can design these plants to really be specific to things that have got market value and have a closed loop to them. In the UK, 400 and something local authorities, all collection responsibility. There's something like 375 variations on collection. There were many years where recycling in the UK was on the up.
Yeah.
You know, back in 1995, recycling rates in the UK were 5%. You know, and by 2005, they were up at 40%. And over the last 4 or 5 years, that stagnated a little bit. And now you could say the public are doing what they can, and those that don't want to, won't. So maybe we've reached that plateau of willingness.
You're targeting these materials that you want and sending other bits overseas to be reprocessed. Am I right in thinking that once it's been exported, that's a tick for you, even though there's no real proof that it's actually getting recycled when it gets there, right?
I know, like 50 grand for recycling it. Instead of doing that, I'm going to ship it to China, where it's only going to cost 3 grand for recycling. But then they're putting it on these ships, and then the ship is halfway around the ocean and going, it's going to cost me 3 grand to send this to China to be recycled, or I could just dump it in the ocean, it doesn't cost me anything, and I make my money. Turn around and go get some more. No. That's what's happening. And because no one's, because there's no transparency in this system, Coca-Cola doesn't know that this is happening. The recycling plant doesn't know that this is happening. They're getting away with it, basically. So,
and this isn't like publicly known information.
That's right.
Like, it feels like we were like finding something out in like a Bond film or something.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
the evil villains
we've
and
just
that.
found the evil villain.
Like, what's their loophole?
How they're getting away with it?
Yeah.
Because the guy who wrote the rules about it made sure that it was really secret in every stage, so that people only knew about parts of the chain. So he wrote the legislation around it in government, and then set up the compliance company. So he was able to say that Coke didn't have to take responsibility for where it ended up. They only had to take responsibility for putting, say, the label saying it's recyclable on the bottle. And the council doesn't have to take responsibility for Coke reusing recycled plastic. They only have to take responsibility for taking blue bins from people's houses to recycling plants.
Wow.
Recycling plants don't need to take responsibility for Coke buying new plastic or the council collecting people's plastic. They only have to take responsibility for what they receive. So we made sure that every person on the chain didn't know about the whole chain, so that they could basically make money along every step of the way and spend as little as possible.
This is just like so much worse in like every way imaginable.
Our PRN system in the UK is based on the export rather than the has it been reprocessed, and I think because of that it's been easier for many companies operating in the UK to look for an export market, because you didn't actually have to prove that 95% of it went through the process and went to a mill.
As it turns out, there are enough regulations in the world under the UN and under various treaties that would say that we should be not polluting any plastics to the oceans. But those rules aren't enforced.
Oh, this is the messed up bit, where we find out that people are making the money off not recycling. And it's almost stopping us from even progressing further, just so they can get their piece.
PRN, the most confusing thing I've ever seen in my life. PRN is a bunch of wank. That is it. Laura sat down with me for a solid hour trying to explain this shit. I'll leave this section for Laura. She knows what the fuck she's talking about.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, cut to Laura.
Cut to Laura.
PRN stands for Packaging Recovery Note, and these are bought by companies who handle product packaging, like plastic, from waste management companies like Suez as evidence that they have attempted to recycle. Each part of the packaging chain has a certain amount of responsibility, and this equates to how much they pay for the PRN. The seller, i.e. the local supermarket, has a 48% responsibility. The filler, i.e. with milk, has a 37%. The converter, like turning the plastic into a bottle, has a 9%. And the manufacturer, the person making the plastic, has a 6%. Those buying crude oil and turning it into plastic are least responsible and incentivized to make sure that it gets recycled. Only companies handling over a certain amount of plastic are at all responsible for making sure that it gets recycled. In the UK, this works out to about 7,002 companies out of 5.7 million. The legal requirement is 53% for plastic, and obviously it makes sense to do the minimum to maximise the profit. Compliance companies handle these transactions, but because this is how they do their business, they don't reveal the figures, so we don't really know how much is being paid towards recycling. What we do know is that most waste management companies choose to export their materials overseas because it's cheaper. The trouble here is they don't even have to prove that it gets there for them to get a tick on their PRN. In 2017, the UK Environmental Agency only visited a third of the compliance companies that it was legally required to do. 25% of our used plastic used to go en route to China, but now that passage has been mostly blocked to the world. It, like most Asian countries and most developing countries, doesn't have the capacity to handle our waste too. In 2016 and 2017, China took in 7.1 and 7.3 million tonnes respectively, but by mid-2018, they had taken in 44,758 tonnes. So where is it all going?
At the moment, most of our material goes overseas in the UK, and that's because we don't have that driver in the UK market for that material. We don't have the reprocessors, we don't have the desire to reprocess into new bottles or products.
So we're out here with my main man, Churchill. I had to do a thing. It's the March of the Oceans today. Yeah. Good? Not impressed. Where are you? Flag? I mean, which flag?
I can see
Where?
Going down the bus. Oh!
Way Dad! Way Dad!
Hello!
On our way to the march. We're marching.
We're looking for the people that care.
Where'd it go? Who is chanting? Over there?
I'm seeing signs over there.
Oh yeah! We found the march. We're going to join in.
It's across for change! Get me! Single-use plastic got to go! A wave of change! Now! We throw away! Single-use plastic got to go!
I've got a saying that politics should be something you do, not have done to you. But today you've been doing politics, so well done everybody! We as individuals can help, but what we need is a change in the entire system.
We're about to interview the people who organised the march. Hello! So you organised this whole thing?
Yes.
Cool, and I believe there's other ones going around the world, right?
Yes, so the Anchor March is in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
That's where the whole thing started. And then there's how many? What?
75.
Around the world.
Yeah.
It's from like Buenos Aires to Dublin, all over the place.
Whoa, wait a second. There's only 35 people who turned up for this march, yet on the Facebook page they said there was nearly 300 people who were interested. Is this seriously the turnout for such a big cause?
So we know that the police have closed down the main road out of Trafalgar Square down to Parliament for the Tommy Robinson protest. So I think it's going to be a little bit more popular than the March for the Ocean. There's a lot of people here. Way more popular than anything else that's happened today. Tommy Robinson founded the far-right activist group, the English Defence League.
He filmed a court case of a grooming gang involving some Muslim men and was jailed. This protest was in name of his freedom. The flags you see here are for right-wing UK Independence Party UKIP, white nationalist French group Identitaire and Tommy's English Defence League. Regardless of your political views, it is absolutely appalling that a march like this was more popular than a march for the entire ocean.
When President Kennedy said, we're going to go to the moon, we're going to put a man on the moon, he said that in 1960. So if we said to everyone how hard or how easy it is to go to the moon, it's incredibly hard, and they did it in 9 years. So we don't have to go to the moon. We've got a problem which we can solve. We know how to solve it, it's in our hands, and yet it's looming as a big problem, so we can solve it. So I'm absolutely confident that we can do it. We just need the will, and we need the unified will of all the people in the world to do it. And that's going to be the challenge. But I think everyone is now understanding the problem, and they understand we all have to work on this.
And there's got to be changes to be made. And I think with the film, if people are informed, then the right brains are going to come onto this and look at solutions. All we've done as filmmakers is kind of look at what's out there and talked about behaviour and try and inspire people. But if you're going to inspire the right people, you know, who knows what could happen. I think we can change this around, and that's why I've never given up.
In the months since plastic began breaking into the headlines, it has been an ever-growing topic of conversation, with new alternatives and answers coming out to be eagerly heard. It turned those who never thought of themselves that way into environmentalists, and it's on its way to making the whole idea of environmentalism an irrelevant status.
Stop calling it the environment, because it sort of puts it over there.
Yeah.
It's our home and it's the only one we've got. This is trashing the very water that we depend on. How dare we? How dare we do this?